Can you actually make money from podcasting? What's up, everybody? It's Adrian Brambila here, watching one video in a series of 30 on how to make money online for beginners. Today, we're going to talk about podcasting. I'm sure at a bar with your friends, someone along the lines said, dude, you should start a podcast. Years before that, it was you should start a blog. Years before that, it was you should be on YouTube. I want you to think of podcasting as a social media platform, as equal to YouTube. It is different in the sense that you actually control a little bit more. It's long form content, audio, and the audio can be whatever you'd like. You can tell murder mystery stories, or you can interview, you can teach people about anything. You can interview people. Podcasting is not going to make money soon. I want you to treat it equally to almost like YouTube in a way, where you're going to be creating content. Some platforms in the future, I can definitely predict that they're going to start paying you based on like an ad revenue model, kind of like YouTube does. But most platforms, you're not going to be making a lot of money from the time you put into content. And I would say that's true just like any other social media platform, with the only exception of being here on YouTube, where YouTubers can pretty much make a full-time living just from creating content through the ads. Although if you're watching my videos and you're learning from me, that's not recommended to have all your eggs in one basket ever come from one source of revenue. But if we take a step back on podcasting, there's some amazing stats. Actually, the most affluent type of audience, they consume more than any other social media platform, podcasting. So, put two and two together, I can create a podcast, and the audience that I'm going to curate has a higher chance of being affluent, meaning having disposable income in which I can promote products and offers, and they're more than likely to purchase them. That's good to know. But I have many friends who have put in hours, and I mean hours and hours and hours into their podcast, invested into the podcast. You got to get equipment, right? The right audio, the right editing. You may outsource it. It takes a lot of work. I think as much work or as equal work to creating YouTube videos, which I think is also one of the hardest things to do. I would say video is a little harder, but podcasting is a near second. So is it worth it? How do you make money from podcasting? The answer to this question, I hope by now in this course, you can almost think of the answer, or what I'm about to say right now. You're like, Adrian, I'm learning from you. That makes sense. The answer goes back to an earlier video where we talked about 1,000 true fans. And just to briefly cover it, it's essentially how many people you need to love and adore your content. 1,000 people purchasing a value of, let's say, $50 in a time span of 12 months equals $50,000. That, in a lot of places in the world, is a very healthy salary that you can live off of. So podcasting is no different from any other social media platform or blogging, except with an asterisk that it brings a more affluent audience, that you're curating an audience. How you monetize the audience is basically what you're learning in this course. You could create a brand and promote affiliate offers through your podcast. You could promote dropshipping products, an e-course. You could promote an exclusive series. You could do consulting. Sky's the limit. What podcasting is an ability to attract a certain persona based on the content you're creating, and then give you the opportunity to promote said offers. Just like if you were going to do the same exact formula, it doesn't matter if it's podcasting, Instagramming, TikToking, YouTubing, the same concept applies. It's a fundamental knowledge of how to create an internet business. And hopefully you're like, I'm starting to understand this, Adrian, I'm getting it. Oh, I know what I got to do. But I'm going to choose my medium for my content, for my organic reach, podcasting, and how I'm going to monetize. First, you got to create your value-driven offer. That's your opt-in. And then you're collecting these leads, listeners to leads, to emails, contact, phone numbers. And then from there, you have a welcome sequence of emails that's reaching out to these people, promoting products that you're an affiliate for, products you mention on the affiliate, or excuse me, on the podcast that you're an affiliate for. You're mentioning a guest who talks about a specific clothing that they rock, and then you include a link to the clothing, you get money from that. You do dropshipping. It's totally up to you. Podcasting curates an audience just like YouTube does, like Instagram does, like any other social media platform. I wanted to make that clear from the beginning so you don't get it twisted. Because most people, and I have some dear friends of mine, old friends, we've kind of lost touch, but they went all in on their podcast and they never got the money right. They had this naive dream that brands were going to start sponsoring their podcast, like Tim Ferriss, a massive podcaster, author of the 4-Hour Work Week, which is a book I often recommend because it started it all for me. Where companies, they'll pay him thousands of dollars, potentially 6 figures, to be talked about on a podcast because he has like 2 million plus listeners. I think even more than that now. To start a podcast is actually super easy. Now, there's a few things. I'm just going to quickly share this information because there are so many resources on how to do this, and I'll leave a specific article that I think does the best job of promoting. But this is one of my favorite podcasts by Tim Ferriss. And right away, if you're going to start a podcast, obviously, besides thinking about what it's going to be about and titling it and put a description on it, in terms of your specific how-tos, you got to think of a little visual because your podcast, you're going to put it everywhere. You're going to put it on Spotify, on the Apple Store, and wherever else you can create a podcast. There's now new places popping up left and right, and you need a little visual icon, so you just have to create that. And after you do that, your files need to be hosted. It's kind of how the technology works. They get created and then via an RSS feed, which is a nerdy way of sending these files automatically when they're uploaded. You have to have basically a software host that does that for you. And so this is a great one called Podbean. I would just recommend it. It pretty much does it all. And just to give you something to compare to, Libsyn is another one that does it. And these are, they are going to have a price to them, but you can pretty much rely on these to take care of all the technology for you. You just got to focus on the content and create it. And then it pretty much does everything else. But what I would recommend, not just on creating a podcast, you got to also create your brand and website prior to your launch. Because after you're creating your podcast, you want to have a place to direct your people to. Some of these big faces, like Jenna Kutcher here on the left, people, after they watch your content, they will go and then they will check out your website. So if someone listens on Spotify or wherever, they actually go to your website because you're attracting customers, you're creating long form content, and it's super important that you create your brand. And all major podcasters create either a website that is their full brand, or they create a specific blog website, or they just create a URL that's just easier to as a catchphrase on audio, and then it redirects to their main site. So with Jenna Kutcher, who's a very popular business woman influencer, she has right here listed as the Gold Digger podcast, and she probably features that also in her audio, but it really just redirects to her main website here, Gold Digger Podcast. Like, this is a Gold Digger Podcast landing page, which then you can learn more about her and then also keep up to date with her podcast information. So that is the game. These are the tools to help you get started. And you have plenty of examples from what I've showed here. And then if you're just looking for a place like how do you do it all, this is my favorite article on podcasting, how to start a successful podcast for under $100 on Shopify. You can just type this in on Google and you'll be able to find it. It's an amazing step-by-step resource on how to get started in creating a podcast. But a lot of people go into podcasting or YouTubing very romantically. That they get obsessed about their content too much to the point where they don't see that if you don't have the back-end business, it's just going to be a hobby. And that's okay, actually. If you want to do podcasting because you love it and it makes you happy and you don't care about the money, that's actually amazing. I am trying to teach you how to turn that hobby into a profit, into a business. And so before you start your podcast, you got to think of your persona And you got to answer that back end question of like, what's my funnel of attracting listeners to leads to customers, and how do I monetize? Because if you do not answer that, then it will forever just be a hobby, a fun thing you do. But like most hobbies, especially when it comes to content creation, with the naive hope that some brand's going to pay you 10 grand for a podcast sponsorship, it's going to fall out. You're going to lose motivation because you're not seeing the income there. You're going to realize how much time you've wasted on this side hustle. You're going to burn out. I've seen it with my friends. I see it, and it's sad. It's sad. And if they just flip them in mindset like, this is strictly a hobby, that's okay. Great. Don't even worry about money. Don't even ask for sponsorships. Don't even care about your analytics. If you only have one person watching, just do it because you love it. Or if you're like, podcasting is my strategy because I am most comfortable creating content via audio. And now I have a back-end system. So now I'm looking at my analytics. Great. More listeners means I'm going to start funneling more people to email leads, more people to then I can promote my offers to and monetize later. Getting a brand deal for your content's the best feeling in the world. Absolutely amazing. When they come to me, it is like the easiest money, and it's such a reward of your hard work in creating content because the brand's literally saying, please talk about my product. Here's in fact my product for free, and here's money, please. That's an amazing feeling to be on the gift side of that. I just want to let you know, to get to that point is hard work, and you have to have a sizable audience. You got 1,000 subscribers? No, not enough. 10,000? No, not enough. Hundreds of thousands? Okay. You might start getting them. 1 million? Now you're in business. I just want to break that down if no one's ever said that to you. Yeah, 1 million reach per month is enough to you to start getting brand deals, okay? If you're anything less, then that's okay. Keep working to get that source of revenue, but work on the back end because truthfully, you're going to make always more money on the back end of your business through that funnel concept than brand deals. So that's a little bit about how podcast works. So where does the money come from? Well, let's say you follow all these steps, you start creating a podcast. I want to break this down very realistic. I think if you want to do podcasting as a side hustle, you'll need to create a podcast episode once a week for probably a year if you're starting from scratch. And then after a year, you can start to expect to see all your work to start compounding in an incredible way where your volume and your listeners and your email leads and then your money from all the other ways you can make money, such as affiliate marketing and promoting offers, and then now brand deals could potentially come start to play. That's when you'll start making money with this side hustle 1 year from now. I actually have never met someone who scaled a podcast without already having a previously established audience ever before. So if you're starting from scratch, keep that in the back of your mind. You're going to be doing this for a year. So you have to love it. You have to love the topics you're talking about. You have to be passionate about it because passion is the only thing that's going to drive you through that first year of building this side hustle up, because the money is definitely not. But to leave you feeling encouraged about podcasting, if this is something you thought about, I want to leave you with some incredible data. Monthly podcast listeners have grown 54% in 3 years. A total of 37% of all Americans actually listen to podcasts now. For the first time ever in 2020, 100 million Americans listen to a podcast at least once per month. This one's my favorite stat. Half of Americans ages 12 to 34 listen to podcasts monthly. That's insane. And that's the future. That's the market. I think podcasting still is not mainstream. And this, one of the other stats in here was that 75% of Americans are aware of podcasts. That's still not everybody. Isn't that insane? I mean, if you're watching this video on YouTube right now learning about side hustles, you're more on the progressive end of technology and how the internet works. Now, podcasting is still not as popular as radio. Without a doubt, podcasting is the future because YouTube is actually harder to consume than podcasting. Podcasting, you can multitask. YouTube, you can't. You have to watch the video. So even though it can take a while, podcasting is one of those long-term side hustles that could actually change your life. Well, are you going to start a podcast? If you think podcasting is something you're willing to commit that first year of no money, but build an empire, comment below. In fact, if you actually take the time to create your podcast, or if you have one, post the link. I'll subscribe. Don't forget to get the free complimentary resources that come with this free 30-day course. You can get them at adrianbrambila.com/30days. Otherwise, I want to say thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. This is Adrian Brambila. Peace. When I started my very first side hustle, I was working at a call center making $27,000 a year. If I could pinpoint how I got from then to now, it would definitely be by the power of habit. It's one of the hardest things to create, but once you have it, you feel unstoppable. To help you build it, I've created the Side Hustle Journal, which is a daily journal that will help hold you accountable to working on your side hustle and creating an amazing business and life that you love. Go to adrianbrambila.com/journal to check it out today.